Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Pellegrino, Customer Success Manager for Wellness Space Brands, and I am thrilled to welcome you all to this month's webinar, How Colleges Are Connecting to Gen Z Students with Wellness and Recovery. Whether you are a college or university, military base, fitness center, or even a company looking to bring wellness into your organization, today's webinar will equip you with the tools you'll need to meet the wellness and recovery demands of the Gen Z population. Now, when we say Gen Z, technically today that's anyone 12 to 27. So I'm gonna shorten that just a bit and say we're gonna focus on those college age population, which would be 18 to 25 specifically, okay? I am personally so excited to host this conversation with our incredible panelists because prior to joining the Wellness Space Brands team, I worked for Atrium Health in Charlotte, North Carolina, managing university health centers. I saw firsthand the need for mental health support in the college age population, as well as the need to focus on and offer recovery with the physical demands placed on student athletes. So without further ado, let's introduce today's university wellness experts. Our first two guests are joining us from Ohio University's Well-Being and Recreation Department. Let's say hey to Hannah and Kat. Awesome. And I am so thrilled to introduce you to my former colleague, Kyla Montez. Hi, Kyla. Awesome. All right, Hannah, do you want to just give a quick little title intro and what you do for Ohio University?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah Vorsek. I serve as Assistant Director of Payne Recreation Center within the Wellbeing and Recreation under the umbrella of Division of Student Affairs. So quite a big array, but I oversee the rec center basically.
Awesome. How about you, Kat?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kat Wong. I currently serve as the Associate Director for Facilities and Operations with Ohio University Wellbeing and Recreation. So right next to Hannah, I oversee all the capital planning and projects for our facilities so that we can make them the best as humanly possible for our students, as well as all the reservations and events for our department as well.
Awesome. And Kyla, share with our listeners what you do.
Hi, my name is Kyla Montes. I work with Atrium Health, client lead for several of our clients, external corporate clients bringing wellness programs, and I specifically help focus on behavioral health programs and how we can bring these necessary programs to each client to fit their needs, including our university spaces.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to all three of you. All right, let's dive right in. So Ohio University has made incredible strides toward incorporating student wellness, recovery, and well-being into every fiber of their campus, especially in campus recreation. So much so that they call their department Well-Being and Recreation, which I love. So Hannah, I would love for you to start us off today and share with our listeners how the focus on student well-being initiated at Ohio University and the changes you all have made specifically within campus rec to become well-being and recreation.
First, I wanted to say thank you for inviting us here. It's an honor to be part of this team. So I think it started back about 3 years ago. COVID kind of just really changed a lot of how we see our students, how we see each other, how we see our kind of our really big mission is to support our students, not just our patrons, but as humans, right? And not just academics, but in that whole being sense. And so our department went through a pretty significant change. We became Wellbeing and Recreation. Our now department includes the campus recreation, so the facilities that we oversee, the programming that we oversee. And then we added in partners of counseling and psych services, and also student health insurance and health promotion. So our umbrella is much bigger now. So when we say well-being and recreation, we mean like from every aspect of, is this person being cared for mentally and physically? So there's been a very large shift over the past 3 years. Some of it was because of COVID, some of it was because of the changing needs of our student staff, and then also just departmentally to consolidate and kind of bring resources together.
I love that. Thank you so much for the good background and overview there. Kat, I read up on Thrive, which is Ohio's student-focused well-being initiative. Can you give us more information on Thrive and how that program breaks down the definition of well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start by emphasizing that Thrive is not a singular program per se. It's an umbrella initiative that really highlights the holistic nature of well-being, where we focus on the student's fundamental, personal, social, and university-wide well-being. So the four pillars, firstly, are based on the Inner Association definition of well-being. So the Inner Association definition of well-being is a framework that was come up with several key organizations within higher education and recreation and well-being. So we focus on both individual and community well-being to help students tackle a more well-rounded approach to their own well-being. And the most important factor about Thrive is that it recognizes that each individual's well-being is unique to them. There's factors that are somewhat universal, but it's important to recognize that something that makes somebody thrive is not necessarily going to be the same thing for somebody else. For example, I read textbooks for fun. I love it. I think it enriches me. It helps. I find it makes me more creative in and out of the workplace. And I can't speak for Kyla, you, Sarah, but I guarantee Hannah does not find the same joy in reading textbooks. Like, no, I'm just one of those weirdos. But like similarly, we have students who enjoy coming to the rec center to work on their physical well-being, or we have students that love to golf or an on-campus golf course. But we also have students that might find more fulfillment in dabbling in the arts or recharging their social batteries by hanging out with friends who have similar interests. So really targeting that unique aspect of well-being and understanding that each student is different and well-being means something different to every one of them.
That is so cool. Awesome. And no, Kat, sadly, I packed up my textbooks the day I graduated.
I go to school for fun.
Love webinars though. E-learn it, we're good there. That's awesome. All right, Kyla, I know you're loving the conversation already, just with the work that you are doing every day. Are there any statistics that you can share with us that drive home the need for colleges, universities, really, again, any place that is interacting with that college age population, that would drive home the need for them to take action to support the mental health and well-being of their population?
Yeah, first I'd like to note that a lot of the statistics that we get are self-reported. That's important to understand because a lot of students or college age population are afraid to self-report. So we do know that a lot of our stats are not necessarily up to par of what they could be. Of course, our national standard is right now 1 in 5 are reporting some sort of mental illness or kind of leading the symptoms to that. And in many of our studies, we see that over 75% of our college age students experience a moderate to severe psychological distress while in that age population. And we have 53% that have met the criteria for what's considered loneliness. And so we do know that we see our diagnosis for our eating disorders increasing, and we're seeing that several of them even feel that it's difficult for them to seek help. Over 30% of that age group say that it is difficult for them to seek help, and only 45% said that they feel 45% say that their mental health was fair or considered poor. And so really we need to focus on this age group to encourage them to seek help. And then we see even higher statistics for our student athletes and LGBTQ community. They do report much higher levels of the mental health symptoms, which means that they're really struggling a lot. Now, although some of these statistics sound a little daunting, it's also important to know that other surveys actually show that even though we are seeing higher rates of depression and anxiety on campus, we're also seeing the highest number of individuals seeking help, which is a very good thing.
A very good thing, yes. And I know one of the stats that you just read about students finding it difficult to seek help, find help, things of that nature. We are going to address that a bit today and pick your brain further into the conversation about what you all can do regardless of where you are based in the US. So thank you so much, Kyla. All right, Hannah, we've worked together on the training side as Ohio University incorporated our wellness space brands products, including hydro massage, cryo lounge, and relax space. So all three into well-being and recreation. Can you walk our listeners through this journey from the decision to incorporate our products, the initial student survey that you all did, some product training, and then share with us how it's going today.
Absolutely. So this is the exciting part for me, because it's the real, like, I'm an action doer, and so this was a really like the thing. So first, to start with an idea, right? We have the idea on campus of we don't have enough third spaces, so a third home. So students' first home is their parents or wherever they call home the most. Second home is like their friend's dorm or their friend's neighbor or whatever. But very few students had a third home on campus, somewhere they could go that's not a hall, that's not a residence, a place just to hang out. And so that is naturally Ping for some of our students, our Ping Rec Center. People come here because they feel comfortable. It's open to all students. And so this kind of was a logical place to put a well-being wing. And so we worked really hard with some of our partners. So counseling and psych services was an easy partner. They're already within our department. And then we also reached out to some others that are not so common. So we reached out to the College of Fine Arts. How can we incorporate music therapy, art therapy into this space? Which, you know, looking for different partners on campus, our Division of Student Affairs, how can we really bring in existing partnerships and to bring into a well-being space? So we asked students to name it, which gave them ownership. So we asked our student staff, name this space, and so it is their space. So they came up with Wellbeing Wing, which is super great. So they get credit for that. And then we went from there. We have given students ownership of this space from the very beginning. So we brought in some machines to let students try out, ask for feedback. We had partnerships. We asked our well-being coaching team, which are student staff that are trained to be well-being coaches, sit at those machines, asking survey questions that we have come up with as a staff, saying, what do we want to hear from the student staff or the student patrons? And I'm just going to read you a couple because I think it's so great to hear straight from the Gen Z, their thoughts, because there was one part of the survey was like, give us your comments, open-ended, like notes, extra, what are you telling us? The vast majority, so we had about 165 responses up to date. We had them open for maybe 2 months, and in that period we went from the end of semester to the summer, so very different kinds of population. Some of the responses were, we need these machines, exclamation point, exclamation point. What that was for the cryo chair. One was, I personally love, capital love, this machine, and they were talking about the hydro. Thanks so much for caring so much about our well-being. Quoted from a student. So they realized that we are providing a service to them. Another one was, it was amazing. We need more of these. And we weren't really sure how students were going to respond to the relax space inside of a rec center. And some of their words were, it needs to be in a quiet space. Absolutely, I get that. So we've decided to move those machines to a much more calm, quieter space. And so the feedback that we received, that was not as like 10 out of 10, they were wonderful comments of like, okay, this student will use this, but it needs to be in a different space. Our relax space has 2 doors, which is a huge aspect for what students wanted. They wanted to be a quiet space, not in line with other people. And so overall, over the 165 responses, we got an 8.9 out of 10 for overall feedback, which to us was a no-brainer. We just needed to get these machines and we needed to get more of them. They're free to all of our student staff, which is what they needed. They don't want to pay extra money for these machines. They just want to go in and use them. And so from that survey, we had all the buying power we needed really to say we need these, we need more of them. And so those students fed the rest of kind of really fed the desire and to prove to the leadership team like, hey, this is something that these students really want. Yes, they want functional equipment, but they also want a space. They want a quiet space. They want a thinking space. They want to be able to use these machines and these chairs daily. And so that just really set us on fire and said, okay, let's make this space. And so we took a very underutilized area inside of our rec center, created a very beautiful space called the the well-being wing now. It's got great furniture. It's got these machines upstairs. And so it is just from beginning to end, we just really created excitement along the process. And so we have a grand opening this fall with our president, hopefully the president of the university, coming and doing a grand opening with us. And so I think it's just taking the things that we're really good at and just keep going and listening to our students and adjusting and pivoting, and then pulling in our partners that we already have a natural partnership with, and then seeking out ones that don't always come to the top of our brains about, College of Fine Arts, and that music therapy and art therapy is very different concept to come into a rec center. So just bringing in a lot of great partners.
Hannah, there's so much goodness in what you just said. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the aspect of the third home. That is so important and so crucial. You let them name it, right? So they have that ownership. And thank you for saying that about the relaxed space doors. I have two cousins that are in college age, and they just, in chatting with them, she was like, I just miss shutting a door, right? You have a roommate, you're going into class, like there's very little privacy. So to be able to go into a relaxed space and shut a door for 15 minutes is key and so crucial. So thank you. Awesome, awesome feedback. And 165, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I think it was because we had it staffed, right? We had someone sitting there, not even the whole time, 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. We just had that, we had QR codes up. No one does them. They have survey fatigue. But if someone's literally sitting there saying what do you like about this? What would you like to do differently? I think we got a lot of great feedback.
That is awesome. You all have been so dedicated, right? Dedicated and engaged to making this happen. So that's awesome. No wonder you're successful. Awesome, Kat. We're coming to you. So as you and your team, when you were making, as you make a change to a facility or you add new products, kind of what Hannah just stated, right? You have to introduce it. You have to spread the word to your population, and it's crucial for the success of the products and programs. So when launching these products, what were some things that, in your eyes, that the Ohio team did really above and beyond to make this whole initiative a success?
A lot of things that Hannah mentioned. I think having the luxury of having those spaces, like the Wellness Space Brands units in our building ahead of time, was definitely a huge contributor for students to be able to see it and try it and to really start to understand that we're moving beyond the physical well-being, even if we're in a rec center. Like, people come here to work out and play basketball and volleyball, but that's just not what it's all about. And like Hannah mentioned too, having our student employees who are trained to be well-being coaches sit there and provide information and collect feedback from our student population was huge. I think there's a lot of value in the student-to-student communication. Don't know how well it would have received if one of us sat there. Like, if one of our regular staff members sat there, students might not be as inclined to try out these machines or truly relax into the machines and enjoy and see what the value of these machines are. So I think having that face-to-face contact with the students, these are their peers. These are their peers who are also invested in their personal well-being as well as the well-being of the student population. So I think that really strengthened the value of the product that we're bringing to the larger student body on campus. We also had a really strong marketing team, thankfully, who has helped create a space that is welcoming. The space has been unused, like Hannah said, it's been a very underutilized space. So it was kind of feels like an empty room. But with appropriate branding and signage, we used a lot of colors that would feel calming to students, especially in the relaxed space area. So it makes them feel welcome. It makes them feel like, this is what I'm coming here for. It is to work on my well-being. I'm not just coming to a rec center to work out or play volleyball with my friends. It was intentional. In our partnership with our marketing team that's on campus. We have also, like Hannah mentioned, we're working with counseling and psychological services as well as the College of Fine Arts to sort of be able to use their expertise and understanding that, hey, what do you see your services and how does it create value for our students, and how can we incorporate those aspects into this well-being wing. So shifting our focus away from just the physical well-being and really diving into other elements of well-being, like mental, emotional, social, and it's really helped us reach Gen Z. I think Gen Z is a population that cares more about their overall well-being they're not just focused on enhancing their physical well-being. They're really focused on taking care of themselves as a whole person. And I think our collaborative efforts with a lot of other departments on campus has helped that.
I love that too, because those other departments were looking for a way to really make a larger impact on campus. And I'm sure they were more than happy to jump on board with you. So that's so cool. That's awesome. And I want to go back to something that you all mentioned about the survey, because you really use the survey as buying power, right? The responses there. So one of each unit use the survey responses to show finance or grants or whoever, right? Wherever that money is coming from, that look at this incredible feedback. We need more. Look at this usage. We need more. They're really demanding that. So it's so key. And that's really, really, it's great that you guys did that. So thank you for sharing. Awesome. Awesome. All right, Kyla, what are some ways in which colleges you work with strive to positively affect student well-being? And are the programs that, are there programs that colleges listening in today can implement regardless of where they are based in the US?
So this is such a great question. It really falls in line a lot with what Kat just mentioned about the collaboration between different departments within the college setting. So the first thing I would say is one of the things that we're working with is the continuity of care between the clinic setting and the counselors. That visibility should be there between them, and then them being able to work together and side by side on meeting the needs of that individual student. One of the other things that we're working with is making sure that within the counseling center that there's always availability for walk-ins or crisis appointments. And that way, having kind of this on-call counselor at all times of the day will not disrupt the scheduled appointments that are already booked and on the calendar. Nationally, there's so many different trainings that universities and colleges can bring on site. And we've been doing, anything from mental health first aid and QPR training to just your simple basic education. We're training our staff, we're training the RAs, we're training our athletic trainers, anybody that's really having a day-to-day point of contact with these students, so that everyone's getting the same message and they know how to identify signs and symptoms and ask certain questions. After hours resources are going to be really, really big, and understanding what those after hour resources are, and making sure that everyone's aware of those after hour resources, including your RAs, athletic trainers, the on-campus police, etc. And one of the things I'll note too is, not every campus has full-time counselors. We know that. We know that that is financially not able to happen for all. And so I would encourage people to look into other opportunities, such as third-party vendors, such as Talkspace, that are nationally recognized and have national accessibility for easy access. We also are encouraging our counselors to make sure that they are attending and just being more visible on campus. So whether it's your campus days, whether it's them attending dorm meetings and sorority and fraternity meetings, anything to make them more visible so that students are more comfortable, even popping into the lunch area, and just making sure that they can be approachable, making sure that this is more of a normal conversation, are all the things that anyone can do from anywhere.
That is so good. Can you pitch mental health first aid? Give a little intro as to what that is.
Yeah, Mental Health First Aid is a nationally recognized program created by the National Council of Wellbeing. There's a couple of different delivery options, but essentially it really focuses on destigmatizing mental health, recognizing signs and symptoms of mental health, and it does discuss suicide and how to have the conversation if needed. And then it really talks about self-care for you as an individual after you've helped an individual, because that can be emotionally exhausting and could be traumatizing for some individuals. So it really is a very amazing program. It's always growing and developing. They usually do an upgrade to the program every 3 to 5 years. If you want more information, I encourage you to go to their website, mentalhealthfirstaid.org, and it is offered nationally, including virtually or in person.
I have gone through the course twice with Kyla. She is one of the best instructors in the state of North Carolina, and it is such a good course. I call it CPR for the brain because that's really just kind of what it is. And it's so important. So if you haven't heard about that, please, please, please check out that resource. You can, as Kyla mentioned, get that virtually from anywhere. So if you're a company, if you're a fitness center, university, whatever you are listening in today, you can really bring this into your organization. So I definitely encourage you to do so. All right, Hannah, we know that you all have shared the usage of the Wellness Space Brands products specifically for wellness and well-being, right? But we're talking about the recovery aspect too. So have you framed any of the products, specifically I'm talking about Cryo Lounge, as really a recovery tool? And if not, do you see yourself doing that going forward?
Yeah, so we have worked with our partners, like Kat said before. So we have an internal marketing team that's doing some internal stuff, but we also are working with the university marketing team, which brings it to the whole university level. So branding is going to be really important for us, so the well-being wing and being recognized. But I wanted to also piggyback what was said earlier about student athletes coming in. So we know that student athletes are coming into Ping, and not just ones that are playing big time sports. It's also the ones that are just doing club sports and intramural sports, and the ones that are doing like the weekend sports. To me, those are the ones that need recovery too, because they don't have the athletic trainer at their doorstep. And so it's giving those patrons and those students access to some very high tech equipment that's free within the space. And then also it's in the middle of our building. So they're seeing it. They're kind of destigmatizing that, oh, I'm going to just jump in this cryo chair and then I'm going to jump into the relax space because that looks pretty cool too. And so we are working on a massive marketing. And right now we're pushing everything out there kind of equally to get users to come in. And so when we start getting that really good stream, we will see if we need to market the cryo and the relax space and the hydro chair a little differently. But right now we are pushing everything out to our patrons and saying, come check out this stuff. And then we'll do another feedback survey as we go along too, to kind of see where things are coming and where students are coming in from.
I think that's so cool, right? Because for you all specifically, it brings your athletes into Ping, so into your well-being and recreation center. And thank you for saying that, right? Not every, you can have an athlete you can have a student that runs marathons, right? And they need to recover too. So that's really great. Thank you, and I love hearing it's in the middle of your center. That's awesome. A lot of good visibility on it. That's great. All right, Kat, Brick by Brick is a well-being podcast hosted by your department, so by Wellbeing and Recreation at Ohio University. What does it mean to you specifically to work for a university that is so open to discussing wellness and recovery?
Oh, it's huge. I think working for an organization that's so open about it, that it destigmatizes it, and it's incredibly fulfilling. I think it feels like we're part of a community that truly cares about holistic well-being, not just about our students, but everybody on campus, because everyone has access to this, right? Everyone has access to our services and the podcast. So we're really reaching a very large group of individuals who are interested in taking care of their well-being. And I think it truly contributes to the success, especially of our student body, that they have resources available to take care of their physical, mental, and emotional health, and that it's okay to talk about it. It's absolutely okay to talk about it. And that has been such a huge stigma for so long, but it breeds this feeling of care and compassion, and that, we're all going through something, and talking about it's okay. Why not put it on a podcast? Might as well make it so that we can reach a larger audience. But organizing Brick by Brick has been a collaborative effort by our Wellbeing and Recreation team. It was actually spearheaded by a previous graduate assistant who just graduated in the spring. But we pinpoint key themes and issues that are relevant to the student body. And we were lucky that it was spearheaded by a student. So he's a little more in touch with the student population than, say, perhaps we are. So having him previously take the lead on it has been an incredible effort on his part. And to be able to work with the well-being coaches to generate ideas and content that would reach the Gen Z population the best. We like to keep an eye on trends in well-being, if it's something that's happening nationally, or it might be related to the season, like let's say stress during finals week, or if students who are first time on college and how do I navigate everything that's going on, if we're working on time management so they don't feel as stressed, or if they're navigating different topics like, what if my friends are pressuring me to go out to the bars and drink? How do I react to that? How do I respond to that? So staying informed about global and national trends, but also really taking into consideration the daily lives of our students. And that's how we create content for this podcast. So it really reaches them when potentially they might most need it. Overall, Brick by Brick's not about creating content, right? Like, we're focusing on contributing to a larger mission of the university, that we are creating a inclusive, supportive, and healthy university environment that really contributes to every single student's well-being, whatever that might mean to them. We're lucky we have a new well-being and outreach graduate assistant that is joining us this fall, and they will be taking charge of this podcast again. So we're excited to bring it back this fall. And if y'all have any topics that you think are relevant, please send them our way, because we will take all the ideas we can get.
That's so cool. And I brought this into the conversation specifically because I love podcasts. They're private, right? So yes, you are putting that content out there, but no one knows what you're listening to once you have the headphones on, right? So it's, even if a student has yet to, go to counseling or actively take the steps to go sit in the relaxed space, right? Even if they haven't done that, the podcast is a fantastic step one into just feeling less alone, right? Oh, let me listen to this topic. I'm feeling this way. Oh, there's a ton of other people that also feel this way. So kudos to you all, because that is such a cool way to really just attack student well-being head on. That's fantastic. Thank you. All right, Kyla, you shared with me results from a survey that stated that even though we're seeing the highest rates of depression and anxiety on campus, we're also seeing the highest number of students seeking help. So you stated that in the beginning. We love to see that. What do you think we can attribute that to? And what are some small things universities can do that can positively encourage students to really ask for help when they need it?
Yeah, so, one study actually found that 51% of students during their first year of college found that their mental health actually worsened, right? And we know that students, when their first year of school or even second year of school, many students are outside of their bubble, and some for the very first time ever. And so it can be a difficult adjustment to make. One of the things I see that I do think is slowly turning a corner is that we are talking about it more. We are making it more of a norm. And many groups and organizations are on board with this. And so many are starting to feel more comfortable about reaching out for assistance. So although we may be seeing higher numbers, that could be attributed to the fact that people are reaching out for more assistance, which is great. Another thing I wanted to just reiterate is this is a great time for us to bring in as many trainings as possible to every person who touches these students, and even the students themselves, right? So that they can recognize things within their own student body population. And so really creating this culture where faculty and staff and students are discussing this all the time, right? Not just during the month of May, during Mental Health Awareness Month, but throughout the year. This should be a consistent topic, just like the importance of our education is consistent, right? We want to make sure that we are really blasting these campus resources, that people know where the services are on campus, that again, we're making this campus norm that everyone can utilize these resources. And so, even popping up flyers in the cafeteria or any of the spaces, the wellness and recovery space at Ohio, anything that you can do to really put this in their faces, and understanding that these are available, these should be second nature to them, and that the resources can be utilized.
That's so important, Kylan. The timing of this webinar was done on purpose, right? We realize it's almost July. We know most universities are in their summer sessions. However, we wanted to host this conversation because you do have this summer. You can put together a program. You can research some local resources for your students, and you still have time to incorporate that in summer packets and get it in your, first year student orientation packets, things like that. So if you don't have a plan, right, a mental health crisis plan, if you don't have well-being hotlines and resources, you still have time. Look into it. Ask us for help. That's really why we have these amazing experts here with us today. So thank you, Kyla. Appreciate it. All right, y'all. You all have shared such incredible insights with us so far, and I would like to round out the conversation by asking you each a question that our listeners can pull some actionable to-dos, items, ideas from, if you will. So Hannah, I can only imagine, and you've shared a little bit about this already, that to create campus well-being initiatives and programs, it does take a village. It takes a champion, but then it takes partners and other departments and people. So what would you say to someone listening today that wants to be the champion, they just don't know where to start?
So find one person that believes in that same mission and just keep going. Just keep fighting, keep fighting the good fight. And if you and your ally are slowly gaining momentum, keep building that circle bigger. Bring in people that want to support you and ask hard questions, and so you can answer hard questions and think outside the box. I would say it takes more than just one champion. It takes a village of champions to make systemic change. And so if you want to see something change, just keep fighting for it. Even if it's super small, if it's like 3 flyers, we're gonna hang up these 3 flyers, or we're gonna just change the vocabulary that we use. Start small where you can, and then just keep going. Or aim big and be like, we're going to change this entire second floor of our rec center. We're going to create walls. We're going to buy a bunch of new furniture. We're going to buy 4 machines and just go big. I think if you dream big, you can go big. So don't be scared to just really think really big. You never know who your allies are where that money is gonna come from with your partners, or just the support that you're gonna find just by creating a space to have the conversation. And I think that's what we're all kind of experiencing now, is that these students not just need it, they want it. And so using that as leverage in our partnerships and saying, we are now taking on this student realm and our patrons in this aspect of not just academics, not just a rec center, we have so much more obligation to them. And then pulling that as leverage and saying, yeah, we need to do this, and it's part of our mission. It's not just like a feel-good thing. It's actually a core mission for us as a university to we need to take care of these students in every aspect that we can. And so I think, finding those people and building your championship team, slow and steady progress, and dream big.
You've motivated me, Hannah. I'm like, let's go. That's so good.
There will be setbacks, and there will be no, you're not doing that. And there will be pivots, and there will be okay, let's rethink this. And that just makes us stronger, and that mission even deeper, and saying, okay, when we get to the final product, it's going to be so good because we've worked through the hards and we've worked through those conversations, and it's been a team effort.
That's so awesome. Kat, as you all were, working through the programs and bringing in the well-being initiatives to well-being and recreation, as you look back, is there anything you guys would have done different? Or if you were to do it again, would have skipped a step, added a step? Help us out there.
I won't say we would do anything different. I think we were very fortunate to have very strong partners who are experts in their field. We're good at some things, and we're very likely not very good at a lot of things too. But there are people out there who are experts in the things that we're lacking. So I think having the strong partnerships has really been key for us. But I think looking ahead, I think there's a lot more we could do with outreach. As a department, we were having a discussion yesterday. We see maybe 450 unique entries into our rec center every single year, but realistically, we're reaching about half of our campus population. So how do we get to the other half? And one of the ideas that we were discussing is, instead of asking them to come to us, we'll go to them. So looking ahead, what are some outreach efforts that we could look into that maybe students don't feel comfortable coming into the rec center or participating in our programs? So let's go to them instead. We'll meet them where they're comfortable and hopefully find some resources for them as well.
Take the well-being wing on the road. I love it. That's so good. That's so fantastic. Thank you for sharing. That's a really great point. All right, Kyla, how have you seen different college departments come together to foster overall student well-being? I'll say, or if you think it could be done in the most perfect way, how would departments come together?
So I always say the very beginning, it has to start with the top down, right? You have to have that administrative support in order to achieve these types of goals. It has to be a priority, and not just a priority to make these services available, but also a priority to make time and agendas for the training that needs to be done with these touch points that the students have. Don't be afraid to engage community partners too. I think oftentimes colleges and universities may feel siloed, but there are so many community partners that can help with implementing programs like this, and in addition could also help with the cost of things, knowing that there could be a cost barrier. So don't be afraid to engage with the community partners. Making sure, of course, we've mentioned this, that counselors are visible and that they, students feel comfortable knowing that they can go to them, but having a mental health emergency plan or a wellness plan that everyone is aware of, right? Everyone's on the same page. And so we're talking about campus counselors and RAs and campus police and your clinic staff. And even if you have, not the campus counselors, but people who are maybe working in that counseling center, so your behavioral health coaches or something like that, everyone's on the same page and understands what this plan looks like across the board.
I love what you said about support from the top down, Kyla, because in the beginning it's really important, but then once you've accomplished the goal, it's even more important. Touring the president of your university, showing them your space, having them try the products, walking them through, everyone knowing the campus emergency plans and just walking through all of that. It's so, so important. Hannah, I think you mentioned you guys are doing a grand opening, right? So that's a great outreach opportunity to invite people that haven't seen the space yet. So all fantastic. Thank you guys. All right. So I'm going to ask all three of you to put yourselves in a college age person setting. You're getting ready to go back to school. You're getting ready to, you're in the military, you're on a new base, you're getting ready to join a new gym, okay, and you are 18 to 25. What would you expect that organization to offer when it comes to wellness and recovery? Hannah, I'll let you go first.
Ooh, gosh, I'm first. Okay. I don't know if that makes it easier or harder. So it's just interesting because I have a son who is going to be a first-year student this fall. And so he will be next to me, being a patron here in Ping, I hope. But it's been interesting watching him go through the process of applying and being accepted into Ohio. So this is kind of near and dear to my heart. And I keep on saying, just go. Being comfortable, you're going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay. You're going to do new things. You're going to explore new things, but you have to take some initiative. People are not just going to hand things to you. You have to be creative. You have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit and see the spaces and meet people. And so, just kind of being bold is what I've been telling him. And I guess I would tell myself, like, if I was this person, just be bold. Don't expect people to hand you things. You have to kind of search them out. So just be bold.
I love it. Hannah, you're very inspirational. Yes. All right, Kat, how about you?
I think I like to think about it in terms of Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? Like, what do I need to survive? And I feel like for a lot of college students coming in here, like Kyla said earlier, this might be the first time ever they're out of their bubble. It's a whole new world they're navigating. So how do I just survive? But beyond that, I think colleges and universities have the opportunity to offer a lot of unique resources that students might not have ever seen before. They've never been exposed to or might have just never found a need for. And being able to provide those resources, but also to build awareness about the resources that are available to students. I think a lot of times students just don't know what's out there. They're like, oh, I'm struggling, guess I'll keep struggling. But like, hey, you actually have all these resources and tools that you could use to get off the struggle bus. Like, just go find them. So I think there's so many unique ways. I don't think I could pinpoint if I walked onto a college campus as a freshman today what I'd be looking for, but I think colleges and universities have the responsibility to help students find what works for them, and that's on us to provide, different unique resources to really improve their overall well-being and recovery efforts.
That's a really good marketing idea, Kat. Just like a post-it that says struggling ? Scan the QR code for your campus resources. I love that. That's so awesome. All right, Kyla, bring us home. How about you?
So, one of the things I think that is not offered as much that I would like to see is different levels of care. So, counseling can be very stigmatizing. It can be really scary. People don't know what to expect or they think something is wrong with them. So, maybe if someone's not quite ready for counseling, maybe there's a behavioral health coach or a peer support group, peer support teams that they can utilize instead of counseling. And then what this actually does in turn for the counseling center is it frees up their schedule for those lower acuity things, for those higher student needs to be met. I agree with the QR codes. I think that especially since COVID, so many more things are on QR codes. So making that marketing super easy to access, and you do your tour of campus your first week or the week before school starts. So making sure that where the counseling center are, where the wellness centers are like loud and proud on campus, right? That the signage around that should be very prominent, and so that students know exactly where they need to go and it's not hidden in some little corner. That kind of also creates the stigma of they're going to the corner, right? So opportunities also to learn more within groups, I think, is going to be big, and so creating those groups on campus, like a peer support group, I think could also help with the adjustment period.
I love what you said about signage, because a lot of times the counseling center is in a big hall, right? Or, the well-being wing is inside the recreation building. So you can even do like yard signs. Did you know counseling is in here, like well-being wing this way. I mean, it can be really that simple and that easy. So thank you for bringing that up, Kyla, because that's awesome. And definitely including it on the orientation tours. That's huge. So awesome. Kyla, do you mind taking a moment just to explain? So if you all, as our listeners today, we have handouts that are attached in GoTo. I can see them on my side panel. You should be able to open them and download them. Kyla, can you just give a quick overview of what the resources that you have shared with us today, what they are?
Yeah, so the first resource is your course delivery for the mental health first aid. This is an overview of the program and how it can be delivered. So again, this is a national program. It can be done virtually, it can be done in person. And you can find a ton more information on the mental health first aid.org website. I would also encourage, if it is a program that you want to bring to campus, I would highly, highly recommend that you actually have someone on campus take the training and become an instructor themselves. Not only will that save you a significant amount of money, but then you kind of have your subject matter expert that can help in that space. And then, of course, I'm always happy to answer questions as well. And then the other two brochures are really just a generic mental health brochure and stress brochure. We oftentimes, we're talking a lot about mental health, and that's so, so important, but so many of us are dealing with stressors, right? And stressors is what turns into our mental health for a lot of us. And so it's important too that we take care of ourselves first before we can take care of others, right? We have to be walking the walk and talking the talk. We have to be mindful of how we're managing our own stress. And so really those two brochures are just to help you understand your basic signs and symptoms and how do you deal with your stressors and just a little bit better, and then how to have conversations with people who could be struggling with some mental health stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing those. We really appreciate it. And thank you, all three of you, for your time today, for the insights that you have shared with our listeners. I'm so grateful for your time and the knowledge that you shared with us all. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to how colleges are connecting to Gen Z students with wellness and recovery. We have a few minutes left. We're going to hang on here with our panelists. So if you have questions, please, please, please put it in the chat. I do believe all of our emails for today were already shared. So if you have questions, please reach out, okay? If you don't want to ask it live in the chat, don't worry about it. Send us an email, send our panelists an email, and we are all happy to be resources for you all. And thank you. All right. Awesome. Yeah, she shared the mental health first aid link. That's great. Kyla, here's a good one for you. What are some ways for students to start connecting or building community?
Oh man, this is a good one. You know, there really people, and I love that Hannah is like, be bold, because that's the first step, right? Like, in order for students to build that community on campus, they have to be bold, which means they need to be engaged with all of there's so many campus groups that are offered, right? If you're not a fraternity or sorority, that's okay. Get involved in the campus groups. And so if you don't have a variety of campus groups, find someone who would be willing to take the lead on that and create these campus groups, because, you know, again, a lot of these students are coming out of their bubble for the first time. It can be really daunting, and in the best thing to do is being able to find someone, some administrator that, you know, has support in this, but then finding a senior and junior who would lead that work, who can really help guide and mentor the freshmen and sophomore students into these groups. So I agree with Hannah, be bold and just get involved on campus. Encourage that.
Getting involved will make all the difference.
Yeah. I was going to add on to, I know Ohio, we have a big involvement fair that happens the Sunday before classes start. And every student organization is represented on our college green, and it is just sign up for everything. You know, you can always change your mind, and also check your emails, because that's how people communicate these days. And so, you know, for students, just be bold and just find your pocket. And if you don't find it right away, don't give up. Just keep looking, because those people are out there. Your tribe is out there. You might just have to kind of find it. You have to just find it, and that's being bold.
Yeah, and getting involved in all those little activities, right? Like, some campuses will do movies, and you have your intramural sports, and you don't even have to be good to play in those sports, right? You just go to have fun, and yeah. So anything that we need to encourage them to really get involved with, that minimum one group, I think should be a freshman requirement, in my opinion.
First credit, just join something. Hannah and Kat, I have one for you about how you initially got the word out about the well-being wing. So email blasts, social media, what did you do? What worked well?
Internally, we've done a lot of work with email blasts. We also have a growing social media platforms that we use. So definitely we're trying to reach students in ways that make sense to them. They have email fatigue, you know, nobody checks their emails, especially during the summer. So we've tried to reach them through creative ways, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or any social media platform that makes sense to them. But I think the biggest benefit that we've seen is in word of mouth. We host, part of our orientation is that we do have late night events in the rec center. We shut down the rec center at 9 o'clock. They come in at 9:15, and it honestly is one big party. We have, you know, food available. There's karaoke. They can play basketball, volleyball, climb on our climbing wall. So through that experience, even before they're actually here for the school year, they're already exposed to it. So they see the well-being wing, they see the wellness space brand units, even before they set foot on campus for an actual class. So getting ahead of it and really targeting them right from the get-go, whether they're on a tour, whether they're here for orientation, or they're just maybe visiting a sibling on a weekend, they'll be able to see everything that we offer.
A cool social media idea. If you have a space or products that you are launching, get your mascot to come in there and have them on the products, do a fun video with that. That's always really cool. I like when social media on a campus can be used. It's students to your, you know, with your student ambassadors, you're already really, you know, are offering that, but to showcase that on social media as well can be so successful too. That's great. Awesome, awesome. All right, y'all. I do not see any more questions in the chat. So if you still have one, make sure you grab those emails in the chat. And thank you again so much for tuning in today. And we hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.